Welcome to Little Seeds of Faith, a podcast where children help read a treasured Bible story, and we get a chance to explore and talk about the lessons we learn. Hi, my name is Joanie, and I love reading. My most treasured book to read is the Bible. The Bible has great adventures, love stories, stories of hope and truth, and most importantly, stories of faith. Hi, and welcome to Little Seeds of Faith. I am so excited to have you here with me today. Can you tell me your name and where you're from and how old you are?
My name is Tate, and I'm from New York, and I'm 9 years old.
Great. I actually know Tate. Tate goes to my meeting, and so I've known you for a very long time. But do you have 3 interesting facts about yourself that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I play the banjo and piano, and I want to be an electrician when I grow up, and I like plants.
The one thing I did not know is that you want to be an electrician when you grow up. Why do you want to be an electrician?
Because Dad is a carpenter, and then I can work for him.
That's a pretty good reason to be an electrician. Nothing to do with that you like to see how the wires work and lights turn on and off. Is that fun?
I like that too.
You like that too? Like maybe like the science behind all the electrical work? Pretty cool. So today we are here to read an account in the Bible. What account are we going to read today?
We're going to read Moses in the burning bush.
Great. That's a really interesting story that we are going to be reading. And do you know where in the Bible it's found?
It's in Exodus.
In Exodus. Yeah, Exodus. We're going to be reading from Exodus chapters 3 and 4. And Tate, can you tell me a little bit about what happened just before Moses in the burning bush? I read with Jillian in the past about Moses being a baby and being put in the basket. And I've also read about Moses and the 10 plagues. So where does the burning bush fall into place?
I think it was like when he was around 40 or something, like right after he killed the Egyptian. And then he went up in the mountains.
Right. So Moses grew up in Egypt, being the son of a daughter of Pharaoh. And at some point in his life, he realized that he was an Israelite. And he didn't like the way the Egyptians were treating the Israelites. So he ended up killing an Egyptian. Is that correct? Right. So you said, and then he flees. He leaves Egypt, right? And he goes into the land of Midian. And how long is he in this land of Midian?
Wasn't it about 40 years?
About 40 years, yeah. So he was there for 40 years. And in that time, we're going to read, he was taking care of sheep. He was a shepherd. A very different life being out there in the wilderness than being back in Egypt, right? Living in the palace. Now he's actually living, probably sleeping in tents and wandering and being a shepherd. This is a very different life now. Today we're going to be reading about Moses and when God talks to him and reaches out to him. Shall we begin to read?
Yes.
Okay. So we're in Genesis chapter 3. Meanwhile, Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. Then the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire within a bush. As Moses looked, he saw that the bush was on fire, but was not consumed. So Moses thought,
I must go over and look at this remarkable sight. Why isn't the bush burning up?
When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called out to him from the bush, Moses, Moses.
Here I am,
he answered. Do not come closer, he said. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he continued, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God.
Then the Lord said, I have observed the misery of my people in Egypt, and have heard them crying out because of their oppressors. I know about their sufferings, and I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians, and to bring them from the land to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the territory of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. So because the Israelites cry, for help has come to me, I have also seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. Therefore, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt.
But Moses asked God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" He answered.
All right, Tate, we're going to pause just for a quick second, okay, so we can understand what's happening here. So we start off with Moses. He's out taking care of the flocks, the sheep. And then what does he see?
He sees a burning bush.
He sees a burning bush, right? And is it just a normal burning bush?
No.
Why is this one different?
It's not burning up.
Right. Yeah, the word says it was not being consumed, which means it was not burning up. Usually it's fire, wood on fire, and the wood disappears, right? But this time it was just the bush is on fire, but nothing was being consumed by it, which makes it very, very interesting. That's why Moses was like, ooh, what's going on here? So what is God telling Moses?
That he heard the Israelites cry for help and that someone's going to lead them out of Egypt.
Yeah. So who does God pick to lead them out of Egypt?
Moses.
Moses. And what does Moses say?
Why should I do that? I'm not any point.
Yeah, he's kind of saying, why me? And so we're going to find out why the Lord has picked him. So we're going to continue reading. It says, I will certainly be with you, and this will be the sign to you that I am the one who sent you. When you bring the people out of Egypt, you will all worship God at this mountain. Then Moses asked God,
If I go to the Israelites and say unto them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What should I tell them?
God replied to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. The Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is how I am to be remembered in every generation. I have paid close attention to you and what has been done to you in Egypt. And I have promised you that I will bring you up from the misery of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to what you say. Then you, along with the elders of Israel, must go to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now please let us go on a 3-day trip into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. However, I know that the king of Egypt will not allow you to go, even under force from a strong hand. But when I stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all my miracles that I will perform in it, after that he will let you go. And I will give you these people such favor with the Egyptians, that when you do go, you will not go empty-handed. Each woman will ask her neighbor and any woman staying in her house for silver and gold, jewelry, and clothing, and you will put them on your sons and daughters, so you will plunder the Egyptians. All right, let's stop there real quickly. There was a lot of reading that I just did about God's telling Moses. Do you think you can kind of put in your own words what God just told Moses?
Yeah. Well, first Moses asked what he should tell, what God's name should be when he told the Egyptians, Israelites, and God said his name was I am. And then God said he paid close attention to Moses, and he promised to bring them out of the misery of Egypt and bring them to the promised land. And he said the Israelites would listen to what they say. And
it's going to be, the Israelites are going to listen to Moses, but Pharaoh's not, right? It's God's telling Moses that Pharaoh's going to have a hard time letting these people go. And what is God going to do? How is God going to eventually allow Pharaoh's heart to change mind? He's going to have to show him tons of what? Plagues and miracles, right? And then eventually, so it's going to be it's going to take a while for the Israelites to leave Egypt, right? And since the Israelites are slaves, do you think they have lots of things?
No.
No. So, but what's God telling Moses? But when they actually leave Egypt, they're gonna
take all the Egyptian stuff and stuff.
Yeah, they won't go empty-handed. They're gonna end up with silver and gold jewelry and lots of clothing. The Egyptians are gonna be just so happy to get rid of the Israelites. They're gonna be like, here, take all this extra stuff. Let's continue reading and see what happens here. So Moses answers the Lord.
What if they don't believe me and will not obey me, but say, the Lord did not appear to you?
The Lord asked him, what is that in your hand?
A staff, he replied.
Throw it on the ground.
So Moses threw it on the ground. It became a snake, and he ran from it.
The Lord told Moses, stretch out your hand and grab it by the tail.
So he stretched out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand.
This will take place, God continues, so that they will believe the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared to you. In addition, the Lord said to him, put your hand inside your cloak.
So he put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out, his hand was diseased, resembling snow.
Put your hand back inside your cloak, he said.
So he put his hand back inside his cloak, and when he took it out, it had again become like the rest of his skin.
If they will not believe you and will not respond to the evidence of the first sign, they may believe the evidence of the second sign. And if they don't believe even these two signs or listen to what you say, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the Nile will become blood on the ground.
But Moses replies to the Lord, please, Lord, I have never been eloquent either in the past or recently, or since you have been speaking to your servant, because my mouth and my tongue are sluggish.
The Lord said to him, who placed a mouth on humans? Who makes a person mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say.
Moses said, please, Lord, send someone else.
Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, isn't Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well, and also he is on his way now to meet you. He will rejoice when he sees you. You will speak with him and tell him what to say. I will help both you and him to speak, and will teach you both what to do. He will speak to the people for you. He will serve as a mouth for you, and you will serve as God to him. And take this staff in your hand that you will perform the signs with.
Then Moses went back to his father-in-law Jethro and said to him, please let me return to my relatives in Egypt and see if they are still living.
Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. Now in Midian the Lord told Moses, return to Egypt, for all the men who wanted to kill you are dead.
So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took God's staff in his hand.
Now the Lord had said to Aaron, go and meet Moses in the wilderness. So he went and met him at the mountain of God and kissed him.
Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and about all the signs he had commanded him to do. Then Moses and Aaron went and assembled all the elders of the Israelites. Aaron repeated everything the Lord had said to Moses and performed the signs before the people.
The people believed, and when they heard that the Lord had paid attention to them and that he had seen their misery, they knelt low and worshipped. Thank you for reading all that with me. That was quite a bit. So after we read all that, Tate, what's Moses going to do? What do we know what happens in the story?
He's going to go back to Egypt, and then he's going to try to get the people free.
Yeah, and does it work right away? No. We have to continue reading in the story to know that it takes all the plagues, right? And finally, they get to go. And lots of things happen. So when we read this, Tate, what is the most exciting part of this story for you?
I think the most exciting part is that God is talking to Moses like through the bush.
Through the bush. I mean, I can't even imagine I love looking at a fire, right? I know you like playing with the fire, having a bonfire and like looking at bonfires, right? But this is a very different kind of fire, and just to see God in the fire. Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. And this is, Moses is getting a command. God's giving him a job to do, right? A job that is a very important job. And does Moses do it well?
Yes.
He does. And he gets help along the way, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So who did we read about was going to help him?
Aaron,
his brother, which is, I think, an interesting part of the story of Moses, that Moses gets to be with his brother that he didn't grow up with. There's something there. Is there anyone in the story that had faith? We don't have too many characters in the story, so who would have the most faith in the story?
Moses.
Moses? Now, did you think he had faith right away?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I'm not so sure. What does he keep doing? We see him questioning God every so often, right? He's kind of saying, well, what do I say? What do I do? What happens if the people don't believe me? And at one point, it says the Lord's anger kind of burned against Moses, right? Because he's saying, I can't speak. Why are you sending me? I think it takes a little bit for Moses to have complete faith that this is a job for him.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. So thinking about faith and being courageous, because I think it was quite courageous for Moses to have to leave what he was doing and go to Egypt and go up against the Egyptians, who he grew up with. Is there a time in your life where you've had to be courageous and do something kind of hard?
Yeah, it was when I had to have a surgery on my ears.
Surgery on your ears. How old were you?
I don't know. It's been a few times.
You've had to go a few times to get surgery in your ears, and this was to help your ears, right? So that you could hear better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why did you have to be courageous? What was the scary part of having surgery?
It was when you had to get put under to get up the surgery.
Yeah, when you're like waiting in the room for them. Yeah. And what did you do when you were scared and you felt like you needed a little extra courage?
Well, I went to Mom and stayed with her. I sat with her the day before and talked with her and stuff.
You talked to her about it, so you were able to go to your mom and talk to her, and she was able to give you extra encouragement. Mm-hmm. I bet you in that time, I think you said some extra prayers to have God watch over you? Yeah. I know that's what your parents did for sure. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us about when you had to be extra courageous in your life. It's very good. Now, Tate, do you have 2 questions that you would like to ask our listeners about what we just read?
Yes. Why did God represent himself as a burning bush? I think it was because Israel wasn't like a big nation or anything, and the bush was like a little scrubby plant in the desert, and God could have got like a big cedar tree or something that was all strong, but he chose in a little bush.
Yeah, it's lots to think about. Why a little scrubby bush, right, instead of a big tree? Yeah. That's great. And so what's your other question that you have? How
old was Moses when he saw the burning bush? I think I already mentioned it. He was around 80.
80. 80. Remember, we said he was 40 when he killed the Egyptians, right?
Yeah.
And then he was in the wilderness or in Midian for another 40 years. And then, so usually he's around 80 when he went off to Egypt. Yeah. To let the people go. All right. Great. And before we say goodbye, Tate, do you have words of wisdom, jokes, or a fun fact to share with everybody?
I have a joke.
Okay, what's your joke?
When was the first time tennis was mentioned in the Bible?
So when was the first time tennis was mentioned in the Bible?
When Joseph served in Pharaoh's court.
Thank you, Tate, for that joke. And thank you so much for reading with me today.
You're welcome.
And we will see you. I hope this podcast planted a little seed of faith in you today. If you would like to read with me, go to wcfoundation.org. Click on the Little Seeds of Faith icon, scroll down, and there you'll find a spot that says, Apply Here.
Did you know that some of our outreach programs help those in financial, medical, and emotional crisis? Bad things happen in the lives of many. We believe in helping those who have stumbled. This includes assisting in the cost of emergency medical procedures, help to those who have lost employment or those facing a sudden challenge due to emotional difficulties. If you would like to donate, please visit wcfoundation.org and look for the link Invest in Faith.